Hello, it's Martin from Ashford Photographic Society here, and this is a video to show you how to export a JPEG such that it's ready for entry into an Ashford Photographic Society PDI competition. Now, the parameters that you need are on the screen here. The maximum width is 1400 pixels, the maximum height is 1050 pixels, the color space is sRGB, the file format is JPEG. The file must be no larger than 2 megabytes in size, and your title, and there's an example here, should be in uppercase followed by a lowercase by and then your competition number, in my case 60.jpg. So that's what I need to set up, and I'm going to show you how to do this in Lightroom. Before I do that, I'm going to bring up an image. So here I've got my image. This is an American red squirrel, quite a nice little photograph, and I want to export this as a JPEG ready for entry into competition. So I'm in the library module in Lightroom, and down the bottom here I've got the export button. So with my image visible in library mode, click on export, and then we're going to go down and we're going to set all the parameters to export this photograph. The export location, we're going to use choose folder later. So what happens is when I click on the export button at the end, it will ask me whereabouts in my file system I wish to store the image. Put in subfolder we don't want to use, add to catalog we don't want to use. Existing files, I choose the option ask what to do, which means that if it finds a file of the same file name, it will prompt you if you want to overwrite it or not before you proceed. This is one of the crucial parts, the file naming. We need to rename our file, and the option we choose is custom name, and then we put in the name. So for this particular example I've got American red squirrel by 60, and underneath here you'll see it shows you an example. This is how it's going to appear when it's saved to the computer. Very important that you use lowercase file extensions, so you don't want an uppercase JPG. Select lowercase so you get the lowercase one. If it's an uppercase one, you won't be able to upload it into the competition, so make sure that's set to lowercase. Okay, we don't need any video settings, so we can ignore that section. Now we come down to the file settings. Our image format must be JPEG and our color space must be sRGB. Now the limit for file sizes is 2 megabytes, which is 2048 kilobytes. So for safety I set a limit here, and I set that to 2000. So 2000 kilobytes is our limit. Now we come to the other very important part, and that's the image sizing. We check the box resize to fit and make sure we've used this top option here, width and height. The width we set to 1400 and the height we set to 1050. Make sure it's in pixels. Resolution is set to 100, and that's in pixels per inch. Now that number's not too critical. If you want to do it at 300 like you would for your prints, that's absolutely fine. 72 is the lowest number you'd ever want to go to, but 100 is fine. But as I say, if you want to set it higher, then you can do. Now the things to think about when you're resizing an image is that you will lose a lot of the sharpness in that image, and you'll need to reapply it afterwards. So you have a choice here of sharpening when you produce your output file. I use output for screen, and I tend to use standard, but you can play around with different settings. Not every image will require the same amount of sharpening. You don't want to overdo it, but you don't want to sell yourself short either. So you can do different versions if you like, and see which one you prefer. Finally, down the bottom here we've got metadata. I include all the metadata, don't see any problem with that at all. It's entirely up to you if you want to exclude any of that or include extra bits and pieces. We definitely don't want a watermark because we don't want anything overriding our image. And then finally, post-processing, I just choose do nothing. I don't want to do anything with this image once I've actually exported it. So that's how I want to export my image. I've got my title here with the lowercase file extension, JPEG, sRGB, 2000 kilobytes in size, or maximum size anyway. Resize it to a maximum of 1400 by 1050, 100 pixels per inch, and sharpening for screen I've got as standard. When you're ready to go, click on export, and it asks you where you want to put it. Now I've got a whole series of folders already set up for my club competitions, so I'm just going to navigate to those. Bear with me a second. Club comps 2015-2016 PDI 6. Select my folder. Now remember I said right at the beginning there's an option to do what happens when it finds one already there. It says that there's one already there, in which case I can overwrite, but if you've not created one before then you won't get this dialog, it'll just create the file. I'm going to choose overwrite. At the top here we can see it's exporting the file, and now it's finished. So if I go into Explorer now and I go into that folder, so if I go into my pictures, club competitions 2015-2016 PDI 6, I can then see my American red squirrel image here. Okay, and if I look at the properties of that, we can see that it's been sized to 1225 by 1050, and it's all ready to go onto the website. Now, very importantly, whenever you go to export a file in Lightroom, you have the option to set up what are called presets. So what I want to do is every time I export, I don't want to have to re-enter all this information again because it's very, very tedious. I want to do this once and set it as a preset so I can use it again. So when you've actually set all of your settings in here and you've exported your first image, on the left hand side on the presets, if you click add, you can add this into a preset, and I'm going to call this APS PDI 1400 by 1050. Click on create. That's going to create a preset. Now what I need to do is need to associate the settings on the right hand side here with that preset. So I right click, not left click, I right click on this and say update with current settings. When I do that, my APS PDI one will always have these settings here, and then when I come to export the next one, all I need to do is to change the name, click on export, choose my target location, and everything will work exactly the same. So all my sizing will work okay. And it doesn't matter whether you've got a landscape or a portrait image, whatever the size or orientation, by setting the width and height to 1400 by 1050 here, it will always correct the size for you, so you don't need to worry about going into Photoshop or anything else afterwards to redo it. Okay, so just to show you that in action, I'm going to just cancel this down now, and I'm going to pick another image. I've got another image here, so if I go into export on this one, so you notice here I've got other presets. So I've got some here for my blog, got some that are sized for the web, so these are smaller images. So all I need to do is to make sure I choose my APS PDI one. It automatically picks up my settings here. Okay, got all that information is correct. I just need to give it the correct title. So this is Reculver Sunset. Let's make sure it's in uppercase. By 60.jpg. Okay, another image using the same preset. All I do is just click on export. It asks me where I want to put it. So say for this particular example, I might want to put this into PDI 5. The previous one went into PDI 6. So Club Comps 2015 PDI 5, select, and it's now going to export that file. So just remember, set up your settings, do your export, create your preset, and then assign those settings into the preset. And then every time you run the export using that preset, you just need to give it a file name and a destination. And that's pretty much it.